Alright, you guys ready? Let's do this. Now, I've got two different kinds of wire that I'm using today. I'm using a 20 gauge wire and a 16 gauge wire. The 16 gauge is going to be the base, and the 20 gauge is kind of a medium gauge wire, and that's what we're going to be using for our wrapping today. I prefer silver plated copper wire, but it depends on what you like. If you've got a different preference, feel free to use that. And I've got about 24 inches of each, and what we're going to be doing, this is about 3 coils. As you cut wire off the coil, it's very bracelet size to begin with. So all you want to do is make sure that your bracelet is going to have about 1 inch of overlap on the two ends. But other than that, you can just you don't have to worry about those being super tight right now. Now, I'll show you in just a minute here. I'm going to straighten out your wire here. And I'm going to be adding 3 beads today, so about 1/3 of the way in, I'm just going to make a little bend to get started on my work. Now you can start anywhere on your bracelet that you like. I'm going to just make sure I don't start on the edges. That's probably the toughest place to start, so you want to start someplace other than that. And I'm a little particular about which direction I can wrap to. You get set in your ways after a while. So, with my short end of the wire here, I'm going to wrap, I'm going to do 4 wraps, just because that's what I like the looks of. You can do anything you want to as long as you stay consistent throughout your bracelet. So there's 3 and 4 coils. Just make sure those are nice and tight to each other. Get them as uniform as you can. Now as you work, I didn't talk much about the nylon pliers. As you work, if you find that you need to straighten out your wire, you can just use your nylon pliers and straighten it out. It works nicely if you've got a kink or a bend that you can't get out with your fingers. I use my jewelry pliers for just about everything, and then of course since we're working with wire today, I've got wire cutters at the ready as well. Now you add your bead on. As long as you're choosing beads that are at least 1/2 inch big, that you should be fine. It's completely up to you whether you want to use stone, what shape you want to use. I would also not recommend anything bigger than maybe 1.5 inches. That would be really large. These are about 3/4 inches. These are like a nice pretty druzy stone. So, what I've done here, after my wrap, I added the bead on and just bended it so that it's going to hold it snug against the bracelet base. I bent it again, and then we're going to wrap 4 times around here. Make sure those are nice and snug, tighten those on. And I'm just going to bend it at about a 90-degree angle here so that I can continue. You may want to use your pliers for that. If your nails are nice and strong, you might be able to just use your nails. Alright, so now I've got my 1 wrap. So at this point what I'm going to do is adjust anywhere that the bracelet may have loosened up. So, and it probably will, just to forewarn you, that's totally normal. The first one is the hardest. I don't think it's really super difficult, but if you struggle with it, don't think you're doing anything wrong. Just want to get these all the same size and have just about that inch or so of overlap on the ends. Now I'm going to capture these ends right now. Going over to this long side of the wire here. Just give that a bend. And I am getting kind of bumpy here, so I'm going to straighten this out. So nicely that works. I'm just going to come over here to where the overlap is. Capture both of those ends in here. I'm going to wrap it 4 times. String my bead on. It's a little more awkward on this long end to keep it all in frame here, but just get your bead on. And I'm leaving just enough room to bend this at a 90-degree angle so that it holds it flat against the bracelet base. I'm going to bend it on the other side, and I'm going to wrap it my 4 times here. Tighten that up. Give that a little bend, and move along the bracelet to get to this 3rd area where I'm going to put a bead. Now at this point, this extra tail that you have from the first one, coil that around the bracelet so that it gets captured in when we add this 3rd bead. Doesn't matter that this tail end is sticking out yet. What we want to do is get it started just like the others. 4 wraps. Add that bead on, bend it again, and wrap it up. Alright, now at this point I'm going to trim up my loose ends. Just cut off this excess here. Cut off the excess over on this other side. You may want to get just a little jewelry file to file those down so that they don't catch. It is still, you know, sharp wire. It can be sharp where you've cut it off. So you just want to make sure that those edges are nice and smooth. But at this point, you've got a finished bracelet. If your beads are larger, you also may find that spreading out these wires to help support it better, it makes more sense, but for this size bead, it's not really even necessary. It is ready to go just as it is.